else. Let's see if this works.
Are we live? I think we're live.
I think we are.
Oh, look, you can share screen.
Okay.
So you just share screen and then press the moon.
And they'll still hear me talking.
Hi, guys.
Somebody else.
Let us know if you can hear us when you come on, okay?
All right.
Okay, maybe wait a couple minutes. 1 or 2 minutes and then get started when you're ready.
Okay.
Okay. Enjoy your class.
Thank you. Let me see what's going on here. All right. Just going to wait a couple seconds here to see if anybody hops on live. If not, I'm going to go for it. Okay, not sure if anybody has hopped on yet, but this one is for the people watching on YouTube later. So welcome to our 5 Essentials class, also known as Better Results Faster. For those of you who know me, welcome. And for those of you who don't, I'm Dr. Doss, the newest member here at our Discover Chiropractic team. And I'm going to be teaching this class tonight. We're going to be talking about how to get the best results out of your care here in the fastest way possible, because nobody wants worse results slower, right? So last time I checked in with all of our patients, we didn't have any patients who wanted to be sick. We didn't have any patients who were absolutely jumping at the bit to basically make sure that their organs weren't functioning as well, or to develop any inflammatory diseases or anything like that. Everyone who's here and joins as a member of our practice comes because they want to be healthy and they want to be the very best version of themselves that they can be, which is exactly why we ask you your why when you come for your 4th appointment. So because we're trying to meet you halfway and then get you to those goals. So work on our end and work on your end. And this class is about using the 5 essentials of maximized living in order to get to where we need to be, right? So I'm just going to share our screen here for a little bit. All right, so this is our Maximize Living 5 Essentials Better Results Faster class. So we got the problem, the path, and the plan, right? So these are the 3 Ps. The problem is whatever you came into our office for, right? It's whatever you want to get rid of. The path is basically the way that we're going to use these 5 essentials, or the path is the 5 essentials, and the plan is the way that we're going to use these 5 essentials in order to maximize your everyday life. For those of you who don't know, our 5 essentials are our max mind, right? We got our maximized nerve supply, our maximized quality nutrition, and our max oxygen and lean muscle right there. So we're going to start off with number one, a max mindset. And max mindset is extremely important. There's a reason why it's the number one thing, right? Because your mindset is going to be the foundation of everything that you do. The only way to grow is to push yourself outside of your comfort zone, right? That's why that symbol there said where the magic happens was outside of your comfort zone. Mindset is an extremely, extremely important thing, especially in my life personally. I spend a lot of time outside the office looking at things, researching how to make my mindset better so that I can best serve the patients in our office, so that I can best serve myself and the people that I love, and just overall the community of the population of this planet that we live on. So there's an old parable that I like to talk about whenever I do this class or whenever we talk about mindset, and it has to do with an old sage, right? So the parable is about this young man who wanted to find the key to life, right? And he asked a whole bunch of different sages about what was going on and where he could find this key to life. And this young man went to so many different people in so many different places looking for these answers. And he was getting to the point where he's starting to give up because he was only finding the same old advice, the repetitive advice of, just try really hard, or this is the secret, and he does it and he's not getting the results that he wanted. So right before he's about to give up, he hears the secret of a sage in a faraway land that's supposed to have the keys to success and happiness and all of the magic of this life, right? So he journeys to go see the sage, travels a great distance, goes all the way up the mountain to meet them. And he asks the sage, like, oh, wise sage, what is the key to life? What is the key to success, to everything that I've ever desired, everything that I've ever wanted? And the sage looks the young man up and down and can tell that he's tried really, really hard to get there. He shows up, he's sweaty, he's panting. And the sage says, okay, if you want to know so bad, meet me tomorrow at the beach at sunrise. So the young man says, thank you, great sage, bows down, backs out the door, and is super excited, so excited in fact that he doesn't sleep all night, right? He just goes to the beach and he shows up right before sunrise and he walks out there and he sees the sage standing on the sand and he says, great sage, I'm here. I'm on time. What's the secret to success? What is everything that I need to know? And the sage looks at him and looks at the ocean and says, go walk out into the water, wade out into the water and let me know what you're feeling. So the young man is a little confused, but just walks out into the water, right? And the water starts getting up to his knees. Water gets up to his waist, to that make or break point that's like right around your belly button, to where if it's too cold, you just like back out immediately, but then you have to like come back in. And he looks back at the sage. He's standing about waist deep in the water now, and the sage says, keep going. So the young man travels out, ventures out into the water, starting to adapt to the water a little bit more now. He gets up to about shoulder height, looks back at the sage, and the sage says, keep going. So the young man walks out even further. Now he's up about to chin height in the water. And he looks back, and the sage isn't on the beach anymore. So he looks around, and the sage pops up right next to him, grabs his shoulders, and shoves him under the water. And at first, the young man isn't really alarmed. He's more confused. He starts to look around, sees some fish swimming by, a little reef. Then he realizes he's starting to lose oxygen. So he's trying to stand up, but the sage is holding him down. And then the young man starts panicking, starts flailing around, moving his arms all crazy, and realizes that he's losing his breath. So he does whatever he can. He starts scratching the sage's hand, starts kicking the sage. And then after a while, he starts to lose oxygen and starts to pass out. And then right before he starts to fade, the sage drags him up out of the water, and he takes a deep breath of air, like the first breath of air that he's ever had in his entire life. And the young man looks at the sage and is extremely angry and goes, what was that about? I could have died. You're crazy. You don't know the secret to life, to success. And the sage just looks at him calmly and says, the true secret to success, the key to what you're looking for, was in that moment. And the young man looks puzzled and says, what do you mean? And the sage says, when you want success as badly as you want it to breathe in that moment, that's truly when you'll find it. So takeaway from that story is that it all starts with your mindset, right? Your mindset creates the desire of what you want. And once you hold that in your mind, and you make it as necessary to yourself as you need oxygen, then those things are just naturally going to come to you. If that's all you think about day and night, like, desire is important, and it's the fuel to the fire that basically propels your action. So that's why we need to work on our mindsets. Let's see. So, desire, faith, and emotion. As we talked about, desire is where all great things start. Faith is what we need to support our desire, right? So faith that the power that made your body heals your body. Faith in your body's ability to change, to adapt, to heal, right? And the last thing is that you need emotion mixed in with both of those things in order to make it last, right? So once you have the desire to do something and the faith to know that you can do it, you need to mix it in with a strong positive emotion like love, like happiness. You need that fuel to keep you backing to do the things that you need to do day in and day out in order to make your desire a possibility, right? So what that means is that we need to shoot for the highest highs that we can get in order and work as hard as you possibly can to get those things. A poem I think really illustrates this is called My Wage by Jesse B. Rittenhouse. And it goes like this. I bargained with life for a penny, and life would pay no more. However, I begged at evening when I counted my scanty store. For life is just an employer, he gives you what you ask, but once you have set the wages, why, you must bear the task. I worked for a menial's hire, only to learn dismayed that any wage I had asked of life, life would have willingly paid. So the importance of that poem is that you're going to get what you ask for if you work for it. And if you know that you're going to be working hard, the important thing is to shoot for as high as you possibly can so that you're able to get there. And you have to know that you can get there. Like, you have to obsess over that thing until it becomes day in and day out. So I'm not saying completely neglect all of your other responsibilities. We have to have balance, right? Like, your body needs to sleep, you need rest, you need to eat, but pushing yourself to get there and pushing yourself as hard as you possibly can outside of your comfort zone is going to propel the growth, and it's going to create the change that you need in order to become that person, right? So how do we do that overall? You got to control your mind. I propose a question to you. Are you your thoughts? The answer to that question is no, you're actually not your thoughts. You are the observer, or as I like to say, the programmer of your thoughts, right? Have you ever been sitting down and your brain just kind of like pops up with like a really intrusive thought, like you're just like driving in the car and like all of a sudden your brain's like, hit the brakes as hard as you possibly can right now in midday traffic, which you should never do, obviously. And you're just like, why would I do that? It's just an example of showing you that you aren't your thoughts. Like, your thoughts are a pattern, or sometimes they can even be entirely random. But the most important thing is observing that and changing what we like to call your mental diet, right? So your mental diet is essentially what you're putting into your brain nonstop. So just like you have a diet where we put everything into your body, your mental diet is basically what goes into your brain. So whatever you're feeding yourself is what becomes you. Just like whatever you eat eventually becomes the cells that make up your body. If you eat healthy things, you get healthy cells. If you eat bad things, you get sick cells. This is pretty basic here, right? For your mental diet, you need to constantly be feeding your brain positive thoughts, positive affirmations, and just positive information all around, right? So we've got two things called APs and ANTs, APTs or ANTs, also known as self-hypnosis and self-deceptions. APTs or self-hypnosis are automatic positive thoughts or automated positive thoughts. What you do, right, is you basically continue to propel good things. You push good things into your mind. You reframe negative thoughts. You say your positive affirmations like, today is going to be the best day of my life, right? And remember that you have to have faith in it, and you have to say it with emotion. So your desire is going to be, I want today to be the best day of my life, or say that you want a new job, or say that you want a better body, you want to get fit, you want to be healthy. I am the healthiest that I have ever been. I am outstandingly healthy. I never get sick. You have to say that. You have to work on it. You really have to push yourself to that, right? And you have to say that repetitively, because you constantly have to keep that desire inside of your mind, right? Your ANTs or your automatic negative thoughts are your self-deceptions. And how we handle those is the same way, similar to how we handle a flare-up in the office, right? So the way that you get symptoms when you have a flare-up, say your shoulder starts to hurt, or something like that, you might be getting a little pain down your arms, some numbness in your fingertips. That's an alert, right? So instead of your shoulder hurting, your signal for when you're having an automatic negative thought would be your mood or that thought arising in your head. And what you do then is you alert yourself, right? Like, okay, I'm having an automatic negative thought, because the first key to change is awareness. Then you're going to pause, right? Just take a deep breath, stop whatever you're doing. Don't let your brain keep running down that same pattern, because you're only reintegrating that pattern inside your mind. And what we need to do is we need to cut those patterns short, and we need to cancel them. A good way to cancel them is just physically saying cancel or stop, or you can do something called a pattern break. You can jump up and down, take some deep breaths, think about something else, something positive as hard as you physically can, or just wiggle around in order to shake it out. Think about something that makes you smile. But the whole point is you just stop that negative thought in its tracks, and then you need to start saying your positive affirmations, right? Also, a key factor, though, is reframing your negative thoughts, right? So you see your adversity as an opportunity. Once you start seeing the world this way, you start seeing obstacles as opportunities, the world becomes your oyster. You start seeing a lot of different things, right? If you say like, oh, I'll never be able to run a mile, or I'll never be able to get in shape, like you start to see that thing, you see that voice in your head as a challenge. Like, oh, like you say, I'll never be able to run a mile. You want to stop, you want to pause, you're alert, you cancel that thought, and you go, I'm going to be able to run a mile. And you put some emotion and some feeling behind it. That's how you change. You say it to yourself over and over and over again. And that's how we start with our goal setting, right? That's our mindset. Keep in mind, though, there is a probability versus a possibility. So your probability of doing something like is not always as high as your possibility of being able to do it. Your brain is extremely smart, right? Scientists today haven't even figured out the exact way that it works. So you need to have actionable steps. You need to do things that are realistic. Like if you haven't run a day in your life, you can't just tell yourself, oh, I'm going to run a marathon tomorrow, right? If you want to run a marathon, you have to break it down into actionable steps and start with a realistic thing that you can do so that you create positive momentum and positive change in order to make that happen. And breaking down things into actionable steps looks a little something like this. We call this a war plan. So this is a war plan. It's basically a screenshot of Doc's war plan from 2017. As you can see, this man works hard, right? So you can break your time down into increments as small as you like. We recommend like 15-minute increments. The war plan is essentially the tactical way that you can make sure that you can do everything that you need to do on your list, right? So if you decide that you want to run, you want to be able to run, and you're going to start that marathon, you can wake up and just dedicate 15 minutes every day to running. And really, that's not that much time if you think about a 24-hour segment, right? The most successful people in the world have their days broken down into segments, and they are working hard. They constantly keep their desires at the forefront of their mind, right? There are people getting plenty of things done in the same 24 hours that you and I both share. And the way that they do that is they manage their time effectively, right? So at the end of mindset, I encourage you to do this. I encourage you to ask yourself the right questions, right? Some of those questions are, what is my why? I know that we already had you do this in office, but I want you to think a little bit bigger, right? What is my why? What does my life look like? And what do I want my life to look like? And do those answers align? If they don't, ask yourself if you're willing to do the work in order to make them do so. Because getting those answers to align is the number one step that you need to make in order to become that person that you want to be, regardless of what that overall goal is, whether it's getting fit, whether it's getting healthy, whether it's financial goals, whether it's just, getting a new car or anything. So it's just, you need to ask yourself what you're doing right now, ask yourself what that future version of yourself would be doing, and do that thing in the moment and do the work. Lastly, for the mindset, the section, I'm going to leave you with this quote from Napoleon Hill. It's, remember, no more effort is required to aim high in life, to amend abundance and prosperity than is required to accept misery and poverty. So what that means is that at the end of the day, if you're not shooting for your goals, you're already working hard. You're already suffering enough, like in the opposite direction. And so the only thing that you really need to do is to start pushing yourself in the positive direction, right? If you're already doing the work by being miserable, by being upset, that is emotional labor. Like physical strain on your body from being out of shape, the pain that you're in from being unhealthy is labor. So you might as well just push yourself and start to aim that pain in another direction, because that's how you're going to get what you need out of life, right? So, number 2, maximize nerve supply. Talking about chiropractic here. This is your nervous system, right? You're amazing. We tell you about this at the beginning of the first appointment in your doctor's report. We talk about it all the time, right? How God placed the amazing power inside of your brain to heal itself. That power goes down through your spinal cord, out through your spinal nerves, each of your organs, cells, and tissues, in order to basically make them function at that 100% capacity, which is the actual definition of health, by the way. True health is not just the absence of symptoms or pain, but it's the 100% function of every organ, cell, and tissue in your body, and coordinated action for the health of the greater good, right? So what we deal with in the office is we deal with subluxations. A common analogy used for subluxations is basically like a kink in the hose, right? So when that nervous system energy is coming down from your brain and out to all of those organs, cells, and tissues, sometimes it can be blocked up. And the ways that it can be blocked up is basically one of these vertebrae moving out of place, creating a little bit of compression and inflammation in the area, which reduces the ability of that nerve cell to fire out down that spinal cord and then out through your spinal nerves right here, which are located, which means that distal part of your body, say it's an ankle, won't be getting the proper information that it needs to from your brain, and it also won't be giving the proper feedback that it needs to your brain, right? So if you're walking down the street and you're unsubluxated and you're clear, your brain and your ankle are basically communicating in unison, and nothing's going on, your ankle's moving fine. But if you are subluxated, then you might miss a step because your brain doesn't know where your ankle is in space. That's how you trip, sprain an ankle, get an injury, right? So what we do here in this office is we use adjustments to remove the subluxation, right? It sends a signal up into your brain, connects your body, and that allows your body to do what it needs to do. Your promotes the healing process and just allows everything to function better, right? Because your nervous system is the head system. It's the big honcho in charge of your body. So next up, we've got our maximize nutrition for essential number 3. Maximize nutrition is like super simple, right? People come up to us all the time about like, what do I need to do? Like, what do I need to add to my diet in order to, become like a better version of myself? And the simple fact is, it's not so much about adding, but it's about removing what's bad, right? The human body was made to be its best with like pretty simple nutrients. But the main 3 things that we need to make sure that we're taking care of are our fats, our sugar, and our toxins, right? So for your fats, we need to make sure that we're eating good fats. There are 2 types of fats mostly. For our animal fats, we've got our omega-6s, which comes from your cows and your chickens, right? And then we've got your omega-3s, which are a really, really good fat in the body. They actually help to protect your nervous system, and they help to reduce inflammation as well inside of your body. But unfortunately, we don't eat them as much as we should, right? So our animal fats are really, really dominant, especially in Western society, right? And then on top of that, we're not even eating healthy animal fats. Our animals should be eating grass. They should be eating bugs, but we're eating animals that have been fed grains in order to fatten them up, right? So dropping out our bad fats, eating healthy meats is going to be the best move that we can do, right? So you got to change your meats and your dairy. What happens when you eat grains, right? You get fat. That's what happens, right? Same thing for cows. They feed them grains and they feed them things that are going to fatten them up so that they can sell them off, hormones, antibiotics, all that stuff. But cows that eat grass are nice. They're a lot more healthy. They don't have any bacterial infections, or don't have as many bacterial infections because they're not crammed together. They're just allowed to go out and be natural, happy cows. And that natural, happy meat is what's going to make your body natural and happy, right? Same things for chickens, right? So you want to eat organic, grass-fed beef. And then for chickens, you want to eat free-range chicken and eggs, right? Not necessarily cage-free. Most people think that cage-free is also okay. But cage-free chicken does not mean the same thing as free range. Free range means that they're allowed to go out and eat what chickens eat, which is bugs naturally. And they're not fed corn, which is what fattens them up, right? So our next topic here is going to be sugar, right? So for our sugars, we have something we call the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? So let's start with the ugly. These here are going to be your neurotoxins, right? So that's your aspartame, your sucralose, also known as Splenda, and your high fructose corn syrup. Each of one of these is actually poisonous to your body. They're carcinogenic. They've been shown to increase chances of all types of inflammatory diseases. And unfortunately, they are found in all kinds of products that are found in today's Western society. So, high fructose corn syrup is in sodas. Aspartame is what's actually used to sweeten diet sodas. But the fact is that we'd actually rather have you drink regular soda than diet soda, because aspartame is pretty high up there on the list of things that we shouldn't be having for our bodies, right? The bad is the agave nectar, the honey, and the maple syrup. So most people say, like, oh, honey is all natural. Like, why is it bad for me? And the thing is, like, honey is all natural. It's true. But it's also been processed as well most times. So organic honey, organic maple syrup, organic agave nectar, better than the other alternatives. But also, if you think about and you go back to hunter-gatherer diet, which was a really good diet for human beings, how often was it that we actually found honey in the wild? You would have had to climb a tree, find a beehive, survive the bee attack, cut into the hive, and then harvest the honey and the honeycomb in order to get all of those things together. So the good there is the stevia, your xylitol, and your erythritol, which are sweet tasting, but not necessarily a toxin. Also, really high on the sugar ratings is your carbohydrates, right? So your carbs are deceiving. Just because you think that you're eating bread or you're drinking a beer, carbohydrates and alcohol actually turn directly into sugar inside your bloodstream, and pretty quickly, right? That's why you get really fat if you eat a lot of bread, and that's just pretty much plain and simple, right? So we've also got your toxins coming right up. And for your toxins, we have something called the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. The Dirty Dozen are things that you should always eat organic because they are so limited. They're so exposed to your pesticides, right? So your body doesn't really like what's going on with these. So we're going to encourage you. I'm going to share this with you really quickly. I'm going to encourage you to eat organic. Your Dirty Dozen are going to be these 12. It's just strawberries, spinach, nectarines, apples, peaches, pears, cherries, grapes, celery, tomatoes, sweet bell peppers, and potatoes. Those are your Dirty Dozen. So if you can find those organic, that is the way to go, because pesticides do tend to sink into these. So even if you wash them, they still get into the flesh of the fruit or the vegetable. Your Clean 15 are usually things that are grown with pretty thick outer layers that pesticides can't travel through. So you got like your sweet corn, pineapples, like onions. They're all often wrapped in a really thick outer layer. Honeydew, eggplant, asparagus, avocados, classic. So our next one here is going to be your essential number 4, which is your maximized oxygen and lean muscle. And shameless plug for myself, I do online surge on Facebook. We're going to be doing it 3 days a week, right? So that's going to be Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays for me, with the exception of tonight because I am teaching this class. But we also have in-person surge. It's held outside at 6:15. And it's just 15 to 18 minutes of really hard work. It's not that much time, right? People always say that time is one of the main constraints of exercise, right? And they say, oh, like, I really don't, like, I don't have enough time to exercise. Like, everyone has 15 minutes a day that they could be doing something. And the fact of the matter is you only really need to do it like 3 to 4 times a week in order for it to be effective, right? Which is why we use our surge principle for exercise. And surge principle works by creating a increased oxygen burning state in the body that lasts for longer than you're exercising for. So it's only about 15 minutes of hard exercise with rests in that 15 minutes that keep your heart rate up and keep your body working really hard. And what that does for you is, 1, it boosts your growth hormone. So it helps you build muscle really quickly. It also increases your metabolism, which helps you burn fat. It converts your body. So if you're doing that at the same time as cutting out your sugar, you're converting your body from becoming a sugar burner to a fat burner. And fat is a longer lasting and higher sustaining molecule to burn for your body. So it's really, really good for you. And also, it does a couple other things, like it increases the size of your hippocampus, which can make your memory better and make you more intelligent. And releases endorphins that help you feel better and help you sleep well. So your surge principle is exactly really what you want to be doing, right? So all of you got something called a Max T3 subscription when you signed up for your day 4. Is that little bookmark that we gave you inside of your Align Your Health book, which you should be reading, by the way, really, really important. And there are a list, right? It's only 12 minutes a day for your Max T3. If you want to do it at home, you can watch the surge videos online, or you can come join us outside the office. Once again, Mondays and Wednesdays at 6:15. Exercise is really, really important for the body. It's been shown to boost your immune system. For those of us that, are afraid of, or those of us that have fears about our immune systems right now, exercise is crucial in a time like this, right, during a global pandemic, right? So we got to make sure that we're keeping our bodies healthy, that we're eliminating our toxins, that we're getting the proper nutrients, and that we're getting the exercise you need. So, and for our last essential, number 5 is minimizing toxins, right? And I'll pose a question here is like, what is the greatest toxin that the average American ingests on a daily basis right now? And the answer to that question is our medications. So the average American is on a bunch of medications right now, especially if you're elderly. I think it's been shown that it's like 1 for every decade of life. Once you get to your 40s, 50s, something like that. So people in their 70s on average are taking about 7 different medications in order to sustain themselves. And those medications have side effects, and those side effects are taking away different nutrients from the body. So we got to make sure that we're replacing those nutrients, right? Which is why we supplement. Some of those nutrients that were used to be found in the soil aren't found anymore, like magnesium, which is a key nutrient that we should be supplementing on a semi-regular basis. But those nutrients that you need to find, or if you need to find out what you need to supplement, there is a tool that we use here at the office. You can go to mytavin.com, MYTAVIN, and type in the name of your medication. It'll tell you exactly what you're burning so that you can come in, grab the supplement, and replace that in your body so that you'll be functioning at a higher rate, right? Other places where you're getting toxins are going to be your body care products, your household products, cookingware, and your water source, which means that we need to be drinking filtered water and not out of the tap, ideally. And then as far as your household products and body care products, there is an app called Think Dirty that will allow you to look up exactly what's going on. You can ask one of the ladies here at the office in order to get a list of clean body care products and household products as well. So, starting to wrap things up here just a bit. What is the goal, right? So we talked about probability and possibility, right? Different strategies create different outcomes, which create a different life. So your overall goal is to live the best that you can and have the most outrageous health that you possibly can, right? So when you come into our office, or when somebody comes into our office and they're in a crisis, their health is usually right around here, right? We get them signed on for an initial care plan, which is crisis care, right? Basically, we need to get out of the crisis that today's type of lifestyle has caused, right? So that's why we say there's no healthcare crisis right now. There is a lifestyle crisis right now. A bunch of comorbidities as far as like diabetes or being overweight, Alzheimer's, things like that, heart disease, all that is caused by the lifestyle that we live, right? So for that first 4 months where we're in your crisis care and you get right here, people think that they start to feel better, right? And they're like, oh, I'm great. Like, I don't really need to start coming I don't need to come anymore. And that's how you end up with possibility number 1, right? So if you don't come anymore, the probability of possibility number 1 is really high. You'll feel great for a number of years or a number of months. Then your health will slowly start to decline. Chances are a person won't know why. It's because you're not practicing your 5 essentials anymore. You're no longer getting your chiropractic care, and your health drops down. Option number 2 is the person gets out of crisis care and they're like, oh, okay, well, I don't need to make any more progress. I'm just going to stay where I'm at, right? You want your health to be okay. So now you're back to normal. You're functioning, all right, like about as much as the average person, and you coast. This is the person that comes in once every few weeks for their adjustment, just when something's kind of hurting or whatever, and you're coasting right there, right? Option number 3 is what we're trying to create in this office and with our community is for the person that wants outrageous health. They want phenomenal, life. They want to be able to do what they want to do. They want to be able to live until 150, because research shows that the first person to live till 150 is actually born already and on the planet. So who knows, you might know that person. And in order to do that, we need to make sure that they're getting in, they're getting adjusted, they're using their 5 essentials, and they're creating outrageous health, which gets you past here, right, for your retrek, and then out here when you can start to come a little bit less frequently. And that way your body is responding, right? So this right here is our 3-legged stool, and this is how you basically succeed, right? So your 3-legged stool has to do with your home care. It's your time, repetition, and energy that you put in to what's going on here in this office, right? Your time, obviously, like showing up for your appointments, doing the things that you need to do. Like, so if we tell somebody to do their home care 2 times a day, right? You need to set that time, you need to sit down. Your body's got to be on a schedule. You need to make that war plan because that's the way that you succeed, right? You go in, you have a plan. You don't just go in blind because if you go in blind, it's just luck at that point. And we don't dabble in luck in this office. Your health and our reputation are far too important for us to just be getting lucky, right? The second is going to be your rhythm. Your rhythm is going to be like how often you do it. So like time is setting aside a time to do it or the amount of time that you put in. Your rhythm is basically like your rate, like how many reps that you're putting into your home care, making sure that you do everything that you need to do. Like if you're on a set care plan, you need to be making those appointments, right? If you're gonna miss appointments, please schedule your makeups in advance because you will also, if you miss that appointment and you don't schedule your makeup, not only will you be losing your health, but you'll be losing the momentum that you would have made on your care plan, right? So you'll be going back in the opposite direction and you'll be losing the positive gain. So you're losing twice as much, right? So we definitely want to make sure that we're scheduling in advance if we're going to be missing those things, and we're doing all of our reps 2 times a day for our home care, right? And your third is your energy. It's the type of energy that you come into the office with. Are you prepared to receive your adjustment? Are you really following the doctor's recommendations? Or are you becoming the doctor and saying like, oh, I'm not going to do this today because, I think that I feel good and, it doesn't matter. That's not going to work anyway. Wobbles won't work for me. The truth is that, the type of mindset that you have is what we've already talked about actually has a big effect on your health. It's huge. That's why it's the first of our 5 essentials there. So the energy that you put in, doing your full range of motion while doing your wobbles, like holding that desire and that goal in place is going to have an effect on your overall health, right? So to simplify things up, you're either toxic or deficient, or you can become pure and sufficient, right? What type of lifestyle do you want? What type of goals and desires do you have? Your pure and sufficient lifestyle is going to be the way to get to that, to reach that goal, right? So cut the sugar, crank up the positive fats, which are your omega-3s, once again, found in your fishes. Oh, I don't believe I talked about that actually. So your omega-3s are really, really important. We need to increase those. Those are actually going to be an anti-inflammatory area inside of your body, right? So your omega-6s are going to be your animal fats. That's going to be your chicken and your cows. Your omega-3s are what you're going to be getting from your fish and your avocados. That turns into an anti-inflammatory substance inside of your bloodstream. It's been shown to reduce the effects of heart disease. It's been shown to reduce chronic pain. And it's also really, 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 really good for the gut and for people with mental health ailments. So, and the reason that this is effective is because mental health ailments are drastically affected by serotonin. 90% of your serotonin is produced in your gut by your intestinal bacteria. Your omega-3s help to heal your intestinal lining, so they'll help with your digestive issues as well as help your intestinal bacteria produce the serotonin that someone needs in order to feel better, right? So if in our office, if you put down that you're feeling depressed or you feel like that you're not, you're sluggish or you're not able to digest as much as you digest properly, or you're feeling pretty sick, omega-3s are the way to go. And the fact is that it's standard that people just need those in general. So that's where we need to be. All right, and then next up, we definitely have to read our Align Our Health book, right? This book right here that was given to you, we recommend that you read a chapter a week so that you can really digest it. It's got more information on all of these things that we're talking about here. And your Align Your Health book is super key, right? Take your supplements, right? Your daily essentials for women are going to be where you want, right? In order to make sure that we're getting all those things that we talked about, right? You've got your omega-3s, you've got your vitamin B for energy, your vitamin D, right? Which is in vitamin C are going to be essential for your immune system, and your magnesium, which is involved in over 300 different chemical processes in the body. So when you're in crisis care, right, we've got a little something for that. We talk about crisis care here in the office in relationship to inflammation. So inflammation is exactly what's going on inside your spine when you're in a crisis. So we come in, we most likely will give you the Inflamadex supplements or the Inflamadex rubbing cream and tell people to double down on their omegas because they are anti-inflammatory. And then for those of you with major health goals, we have a first step 1, 7-day health reboot. I know it says second step, but your step 1 is what it's called actually. So we got to get your cell detox and your daily defense during the day. We've got your whey protein and your green vibrance to make sure you're getting all the nutrients that you need. And you're going to be eating as many raw and organic vegetables as you want. Remember your clean 15 and your dirty dozen, drinking your purified filtered water, cutting your sugars, eating good fats, cutting your toxins, right? And all these things are going to help you become the person that you want to be. As far as your rhythm, you need to maintain your spine with your home care. You've got to do your wobbles, ladies and gentlemen. Your wobbles are essential. We tell you to do them twice a day, every day for a reason. They keep your spine mobile, they help to strengthen the muscles, and they help to turn on your nervous system in that area. So wobbles actually increase your motion, right, which increases the delivery of nutrition to the brain and spinal cord. So it's making sure that your brain gets the blood and nutrition, increases your full range of motion, reduces stress in the back, assists in healing and disc bulges and tears. So if you have a disc issue, you need to be doubling down on your wobbles. If you see in your exam that your discs are shrinking or you're getting arthritis, wobbles are exactly where you need to be doing. You say you got some tight, some sore muscles, wobbles. If I tell you this on the table every time that you tell me that you're tight or you're sore, it's because it works, right? And people say, oh, how often do I need to do our wobbles? How long, right? But the thing is that your discs don't even have a blood supply, right? By the time that you're 12 years old, your ligaments and cartilage to your spinal disc have a direct blood supply, or your ligaments and your cartilage no longer have a direct blood supply for the nourishment of your discs. And also they don't have a way to get rid of toxins and waste, right? So the only way that you can do that is by movement. So in order to get the nourishment that they need, you need to move. In order to kick the toxins out that you don't want, you need to move. Fun fact about wobbles too, wobbles can actually help to rebuild your spinal disc. In a study, it was found that 500 days of metabolic interchange by sedentary patients who engage in daily full range spinal workouts, i.e. wobbles, with 120 reps per day, helps to increase, or it helps to grow back that disc, right? So that disc that you're having issues with because it's so low and so dead can actually grow back if you're eating the right things and you're doing your wobbles, you're getting those nutrients in there. Right? So we've got our action steps to getting better results faster. Finding your 5 essentials, right? Your core chiropractic, your nutrition, your mindset, your oxygen exercising, and your minimizing toxins are exactly what you need to be doing. If you have any further questions, definitely do not hesitate to ask. You can come to me in the office or any of the ladies at the front desk or Dr. Sherry or Dr. Osborne. We're all here for you. We just want to see you succeed because we're personally invested in your health, right? Especially in this new year. We'd also like to, I'm going to take this opportunity to go ahead and invite you to our New Year, New You event. It's going to be at the end of this month. We're having a pre-event for it next Wednesday, so get in the office, get signed up. The event is $21. There's going to be some seating available in the office, but we are going to keep it to limited seating with a very, very heavy webinar presence. So if you want to find out more about how you can achieve your goals, how you can maximize your health, how you can maximize your life, essentially, that's what we need to be doing, right? Because at the end of the day, you have to make your potential your priority. So thank you so much for joining me this evening. Have a good night.